8:30. There might be some others joining us, but maybe we'll get started just because it's Friday and maybe some decided not to join us. I'll just do a quick introduction as I see some familiar names, but my name is Carla Coleman and I'm with the Center for Teaching and Learning as the Educational Technology Advisor. So today we're going to talk about assignments. So I thought we would go through setting up assignments in a couple different types and walk through what that looks like. So to get started, I'm going to turn off my camera just because I feel like the internet's better when I do that. And then I'm going to share my screen for you all to see. So to access assignments, when you log into onQ, you will come to the course homepage and then you click on assessments and then assignments. So first off, there are two different types of assignments that you can create. You can create an individual assignment or a group assignment. So the individual assignment allows users to submit their own files and they are assessed individually. A group assignment, so if you have a group and a number of people are in that group, any member of the group can submit a file to that assignment folder. And when you grade them, they would all receive the same grade. So you only have to enter the grade once and each individual in that group would receive that same grade. So after that, there are 4 different submission types. So these are the ones that I have already created for just examples. There's a file submission, text submission, observed in person, and on paper. So I'm going to go through and we're going to create an assignment and we can talk about what the differences and what each of these actually mean. So to create a new assignment, I'll click on New Assignment. I'm on the Properties tab and I'll just give it a title. Assignment 1. I won't enter any instructions that I want the students to complete for this assignment into this box here, or if I have a file with all the instructions already set on my computer, I could click Add Attachment and upload a file or any other existing activities if I wish. So this is where I was talking about the different types of assignments. So I'm choosing here which type of assignment. Do I want to be an individual assignment or a group assignment? We'll just choose individual for now. And this brings me to the types of submission types. So there are 4. So file submission means that students upload maybe a document or a file to this specific folder. If I choose a text submission, that means that students will receive or see a text box where they could post text, image, or a link to their work in that box. On paper submission, so that means that students can submit a physical copy of their assignment directly to you, but obviously because we're remote in this situation, that's not one that you're likely going to be choosing at this point in time. And observed in person. So you would use that maybe to allow you to observe students as they perform a task, or whether it be like a demonstration or a presentation of a specific skill, or maybe a lab test of some kind. So your choice in which one you want to do, I would say file submission is the most common one that people choose. How many files would you like to allow the student to submit to this specific assignment? Unlimited, so that means that up until the due date or the end date, the students can submit a number of files to this folder. Or I can choose to only allow them to enter 1 file. So once they've submitted 1 file to this assignment folder, they can't submit another. Most people choose unlimited. Just gives the student a chance. Maybe they made a mistake and thought, oops, I forgot to add something. I'd like to change it before the due date. They could do so without contacting you. You decide what you want to do with each of those submissions. So do you want to keep them all? So if they upload more than 1, you will see them all. Do you want to only keep the most recent? Or if you're only allowing 1, then it would only be 1. Notification email, if you enter an email address here, an email will be sent to that address each time a submission is made to this folder. Your choice, whether you want to know that specifically, or you just come back to the assignment to see when or if something has been submitted. A category you could create. So what the category is really just for organization. So maybe you have 5 assignments and you would like to keep them under a category, you would create one. I wouldn't say a lot of people do that. It's just more housekeeping and not necessary. So what am I going to score this assignment out of 10? If I choose a grade item, this means that the grade I enter for that assignment would then go to the gradebook. And if you're using the gradebook to export grades to PeopleSoft, it would keep everything up to date for you. So if I don't have a grade item currently, I can create one. It'll automatically take me to create it. I'll choose to name it, title it, the same as my assignment itself. I'm not going to choose a category. I'm not going to enter any information. All this is fine, and I will just click Save. So it's attached the grade item to my assignment. If you were choosing to score by a rubric, you could choose it here. And the annotation tool, if I'm using it to mark, is enabled. I'll scroll to the top and we'll go to the restrictions tab. So this is where you're going to set when the assignment will be available and when the due date you choose. So the due date means that by this date and time, this assignment is due, just as it suggests. The availability section means that if I set a start date, as of this date and time, this assignment will be visible under the assignments folder. If I set an end date, that means that as of this date and time, that specific assignment will no longer be visible to students under the assignment folder. I would say what is most common is setting the due date. So the due date allows the students to upload past that due date, but it will mark a timestamp for you. So you would see if that assignment was handed in late. So you would see how late it would tell you whether it was 2 hours or 2 days late. You get that specific timestamp letting you know. So if you needed to add a penalty, then you could to that. If you set the end date and the student comes to the assignment folder and there's, oh no, I don't see it, what am I going to do? They're going to contact you, and then you would have to make special access to this folder for them to submit their assignment, or you have to agree to an alternate submission for them. So I would say, again, most common is the start date when it's available and the due date. Release conditions, you could set here if you wanted to make sure the students were completed a specific task prior to this assignment being available to them. You could do so here. We just won't get into that into detail right now. Special access. So this is where you would allow students, maybe they have an accommodation. So you would come into special access, you would grant the additional time that this student had for this assignment under the due date and end dates if you were setting one. So you would find the student in the list, mark them, select what their additional availability or due date is for this specific assignment, and then you would click Save. It brings you back to the restrictions page, and then you can see that I've added special access to this student specifically and what the parameters were for that specific assignment. We'll scroll to the top, and the objectives isn't one that we use, so we won't need to go over it. So this means that right now I've set up an assignment titled Week 1, Assignment 1. It has the file submission type, it's unlimited. I'm scoring it out of 10, and it has a grade item. So I will click Save and Close. And you can see that my new assignment has been created. The icons next to the assignment, this one means that I've added special access to this assignment, and this badge is the grade item. So I've attached a grade item to this assignment. So I thought we would go over also creating a group assignment and what that looks like. So if you're creating a group assignment, you must create the group first. So if we go to communications and groups, I already have a couple groups created, but we will create a new one. So new category, maybe I'll title it Assignment 1. You can give it a generic name if you wish, because with groups, you can have multiple groups assigned to different assignments. So if you want to keep the same groups throughout different assessments, you can do so. You can choose to enter a description. I will choose my enrollment type. So there are many that you can choose from, and that's something that we won't get into heavily today, just because it can be overwhelming for sure. So you would choose, maybe I want to do groups of 2. So if I chose that, I could do number of users I want to put in my groups. If I chose number of groups, maybe I only want 2 groups. If I choose self-enrollment, that means that the students can choose to enroll in that group, or they pick a group. If I choose no auto enrollments, that means that I can choose which groups they are going to be enrolled into. The enrollment types that don't have either self-enrollment or auto-enrollment means that the system will assign the students to groups automatically. So we'll just do, maybe we'll do number of groups and we'll do 2. I can choose whether I want to restrict those enrollments to a specific section or week. I won't do that right now. I'll just let the system decide. You don't need a group prefix. It's going to randomize users. I'm also going to decide to auto-enroll new users based on adding and dropping of the course. The system would then automatically decide whether students have access.
Carla?
Yeah.
Kathleen asked if you can show us how to use the objectives dropdown.
Yeah, so we don't actually use objectives here. It's not something that's enabled within onQ for Queens. So yeah, so we won't go over it today because it's not actually used. So your additional options, you can choose whether you're creating these additional setup within this. So I could choose to set up in my assignment from the groups folder, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to create my groups. So I'll click save. You see that the new group has been created. I have 2 groups, and because I don't have that many students enrolled in this course. There are 2 members in each group. So I'll come back to assessments and assignments, and I'm going to click on new assignment, and maybe I'll just call this group assignment. Enter any instructions. I'm going to choose the assignment type as group. Which one do I want to choose from? I'll choose assignment 1. Again, you can choose how you want them to submit, whether it be a file or a text submission. I'm going to allow them to be unlimited. I'm going to keep them all. I'm going to score it out of 10. I can choose my group assignment for my grade item and save and close. So then you can see that it adds a different badge to this specific type of assignment, which gives you the group assignment. So when you see that badge, you know that this one's a group assignment. When you don't see that, the rest of them are individual assignments. So there are lots of different choices when you're setting up your assignments in general. I would say, again, the most common one is a file submission. So I thought we would go and look at what that view is from the student view. So if I go to communications and class list, when you set up your course, you're offered to create a test student, which I recommend because you can come back into the class list and you can use this test account to impersonate to see how the students would be viewing that assignment that you've set up or other assessments. So when I come to the class list, if I click on the drop down, I can click impersonate, just telling me that I'm going to use this account to impersonate, and it's going to suspend my current access. So here I am as this test student. If I go to assessments and assignments, so all my assignments I currently have visible to students. So if I'm going to want to submit to the first file type, I'll click on it. It's going to present me with I can enter comments that you as the instructor would see. I'm going to add a file. So I'm going to choose from my computer. I will pick one, click open, and add. So it's going to send this file to the submission for that specific assignment and click submit. I get my confirmation. I come back and I can see, so this specific student has already uploaded 3 different files to this specific assignment. We'll look at the text submission. I have, again, the student has already submitted twice to this one. So it's not going to allow me to show you what that looked like. You may have to view it from a different student then. So the observed in person, if I click on this one, there's nothing for me to submit to or upload to because it's just really a placeholder. So when you choose these options for types or the submission types, that means that you as the instructor will have access to enter feedback and comments. And then when the student comes to see that, they would see that it then was completed in the end.
Carla,
Yeah.
there's another question.
Sure.
So the groups could be different for each week assignment. Which criteria does onQ use for automatic group assignments? Is it random, i.e., would two consecutive automatic group assignments be likely to be different?
Oh, I might have to read that one too. It's like, oh no. Let's see if I can find the chat. So the groups could be different. Yes. So if you want the groups to be different, then you would create different groups under the groups category. So then they don't have to be the same. That's up to you. It's just an option. If you wanted to use the same groups over multiple assignments, you could, but you could set those yourself. So each week an assignment could be different groups. You would just have to create those groups at the same time if you wanted to choose the different groups specifically. So which criteria does onQ use for automatic group assignment? So if by that you mean it's taking the class list, and if I wanted to divide the class list into the groups, it's just going to randomize. I don't really know specifically how it decides to do that. But two consecutive automatic group assignments likely to be different. So if that means if you think that the system was auto-enrolling, would it decide to create different groups for different assignments? Yes, it would be a different set of group users or members in those assignments. Hopefully that made sense or that I understood the question properly. So again, because I just created this specific assignment, I didn't submit to this one. So again, it would look the same. I would just upload my file to this submission. So you can see that the completion status, because I have made submissions, tells me here what I have done. These two will say not complete until a specific grade has been assigned. So the student doesn't have anything to submit to it, so it doesn't have the completion status to automatically assign to this specific type of assignment submissions. So I'm going to go back to my instructor view. So I'm going to click to close out of the test student, go back to assessments and assignments. And here I can see under the file submission that I have one new file type. Someone has submitted. So if I click on the drop down and I go to view submissions, I can see here there is a submission. So if I click on it, this is going to preview or download, depends on what you choose, the file that was submitted. On the right-hand side, here's your evaluation options. So what do I want to give this student? I've already graded this one previously, so you can see that this student got a 9 and then the great work. So I can click to update, go back to submissions. So as of this date and time, I have published the information to this student. If I want to maybe make changes, I could retract my feedback from the student and I could make, maybe I thought that you were really great. And my choices now are save draft and publish. So if you have maybe a TA or maybe you're marking lots of assignments at one time, you could save as draft. And what that means is the grade would not be then visible yet to the students and it wouldn't be published to the grade book. So you could grade everybody first and then choose at the end to come back and then publish so that everybody gets their grade at the same time. So if I click back to submissions, I can then see that my status is draft saved. And then if I chose, all right, I'm ready, I'm happy, everybody has a grade, I can click because I only have one submission. But if there were a large number of students in your course, you may have multiple pages and you would have to do this per page. So you would select everybody on the list and click publish feedback. It's just giving you a confirmation. If you are sure you want to continue, you say yes. And then you see that the grade was then published at that date and time. So then the students could then see their grade or their feedback for that assignment under the assignments folder. So if we come back to assignments, if we look at the text submission, we view submissions. I can see that this test student made a submission. I'm going to click on view. So because it was just a text box, this is the only information that was entered. But again, on the right-hand side, I have a number of these evaluation and feedback tools that you want to offer. So you can enter your feedback. Again, if you are working away, you don't want to publish your grades just yet, you save as draft. Was saved successfully. I can continue if I had another student to click next or previous. I do not in this case. I click back to submissions and I can see that this was graded again at this date and time, but it's just saved as a draft. If I'm ready to publish, I click on that option. If you click this top box, it will, if I had more users in the list, it would check everybody in the list. Or if you could just individually select those that you wanted to publish at that time, you would select just the box next to that student. Click on publish feedback. Yes, I'm fine to continue. Again, you see that I published the grade to the student. So if we go back and we look at the options for maybe observed in person. So if you click on to view submissions, so I can see that I've already evaluated these students at some point in time. This one I saved as a draft and this one I published. I want to evaluate. Again, I'm given my options, enter a score and any feedback. Again, publish or save as draft. And it gives you the list. Back here, you just have to click either. Again, you could move to continue to the next student if I wanted to give them a score. Maybe I'm ready to publish. That sounds good. I'll go back to my submissions and I can see that this student received a mark for this specific assignment. So I'm going to go back and show you what that looks like then from the other view from the student for this type of submission, because now it should show us that the student had completed that assignment. So go back to my class list. I will impersonate my test student. Again, the test student's a good option to have in your course. It just gives you the view to look and to test how you want things to be viewed by the student. So observed in person assignment type is now completed. So then I got a 9 out of 10 for my score, and I can read my feedback, which is shown here, just giving them an overview, and click done. So then I could see that the feedback was then read, and then this assignment completion status has been changed to completed. So it will be the same for the on paper. Once you give them the mark, the completion status would be updated. Just gives students just a reminder of maybe what they need to do or what's outstanding so they know where they're at. I click to close. Come back to assessments and assignments. So yeah, I think that sort of sums up how the assignments submissions can be used. Again, typically I would say people use assignment folders to eliminate the need to for you to be sent an email, or if we were on campus, to avoid having to hand in and collect paper submissions. it's just a nice way that keeps everything in an electronic form in the database, and it allows you to then use the tools that onQ has to offer to evaluate and to provide a score for that student. And again, as I said, I wish maybe I should look at that just as I'm sort of talking to see. So if the student submits a PDF document, can the feedback also be given in a PDF file? What annotation, version of the student submitted? So that's a good question. So the annotation tools, if we just, it's not something that it's newer and it has a few hiccups, but typically, let's just see. You can add a file. I don't know, do we have a, if it's something, I do have a PDF, so we could see what that looks like. And I could update. So if I went back, so that was my test student. So I just uploaded the PDF, which essentially could have been feedback that I updated for that student. If I come back to look at that, we can see what that looks like. So yeah, so then they could see. But where does it show? That's a good question. To see where it shows them the actual file. So this is the one. I can see that my file is there. But it didn't actually show. It keeps downloading everything, whether I want it to or not. And that was for file submission. Sorry, I'll just go back and we'll see if it's showing there, but maybe we'll have to look at that further potentially. So I thought they could see it if you uploaded, if you made changes and then uploaded the feedback to that file. Oh, there it is. So yes, you could do that if you wanted to. Make the changes and upload the feedback to it, and then they could click on it. That was the file that I uploaded. You're welcome. Hopefully that was clear. Just go back now in my impersonation. Yeah, again, I think there are lots of options that you have to choose from for creating different types of assignments, and that's a sort of a high-level overview of how they are commonly used. But if you have any questions, then I'm happy to answer them. Now, there on the onQ support site, there are lots of additional resources that can walk you through setting up assignments and attaching grade items and how that looks. So step-by-step tutorials to take you through that. If you would like further instruction past that, then you can contact myself at the CTL, and I'd be happy to talk further or to walk you through anything that we've talked about today, or things that maybe you would like some clarity on if you had a look at the support site. Yes, if you